Okay, so basically, I'm gonna be doing a brief analysis on this game between UNIQ and Riddle in the NLC. And I chose this game on Malphite versus Fiora because I think it's a very good example of putting yourself far back into the lane on level 1 and how to avoid it. So the first thing is that I want to talk about is just the rune setup. So Malphite took Comet, Manaflow, Transcendence, Scorch, and then Boots, Biscuits, and AP armor. So this is like the most common rune setup on Malphite. And basically the idea is that you want to be poking a lot with Q to make it insufferable whenever you reach like level 5 onwards because of the base damage that you have, and you're basically going to be throwing Qs nonstop during the lane. But the drawback of this build is that your sustained damage on level 1 is really low. And basically, on level 1, it's just a battle of who has the most consistent damage. And in this case, it's Fiora, because she just hits harder. And Malphite, all that he has is like Q, right? So, having that in mind, Malphite needs to know that he cannot really go for a leash without giving up at least some form of HP when he has to trade eventually on the first wave. So having that in mind, in this game, Malphite chose to leash, and we can take a look at what happens. All right. So just like one small thing, if you're gonna leash, you should be sticking to this area. You can see the timer, and you probably want to be leaving at like 123, 124. You don't have to leave that early, because maybe if somebody walks down here, you're gonna see them like later than you're supposed to. A very small thing, because now you're going to be sitting at blue, right? And this doesn't really do anything for you. And now, just like a small optimization on a Malphite, whenever you're going to leash as Malphite, you want to be starting right next to blue so that you can tank it, because your passive has a cooldown of 8 seconds, which means that if blue hits you once, you're going to have the passive back by the time you go back to lane, because it's 8 seconds. So basically you save a little bit of HP for your jungler. And the second thing is, after you get hit by the blue, now you walk back and Wukong walks in and starts tanking. And then you just hit standing still, right? But the way you're gonna execute this is you don't have the intention of tanking, apparently, and you're kiting back, which makes it a little bit harder, and you even like miss an auto attack because of this. Right, but okay. Now we're gonna head back, head to lane, and Fiora is realizing that since Malphite leash, she can just walk up to try to zone him off of these 3, right? So having that in mind, now Malphite's goal is to get the XP of these minions, and the way that he can do this is basically by making it so that Fiora aggroes these minions. And by doing that, basically you want to be trading with Fiora on this area so that you can draw the aggro. What you shouldn't do is just sit around the tower, right? Because you're gonna miss the XP on everything. So having that in mind, what Malphite is doing is fine now, but now he's gonna get queued. The vital shows up here, which means all he has to do is walk up like this. You want to be walking up in this direction, and then it's fine. You are gonna drop some HP, and this is a consequence of leashing with this rune setup. But yeah, this is what you want to be doing. But Malphite opts to not do this. And now he's gonna just drop the XP on all of the melee minions. And also, just a small thing as well, whenever you're playing the Comet Malphite, you are gated by your ability to throw Qs during the early game by Mana Flow and Comet. Basically, you want to be using Comet, you want to be using Q whenever Mana Flow and Comet are up, right? So having that in mind, you should have thrown the Q on Fiora as soon as possible, so that the mana flow would be back as soon as possible, so you could throw the next one and be ready to throw. Basically, by not throwing, you're just delaying way too much. But okay. The lane continues. And now just a small thing, here you could have walked up to get the XP of this one because you're gonna get hit anyway. Like around here, you would have already gotten the XP. Like the range of the XP of minions is 1600, so it's pretty large. You can think of Echo's W. It's a pretty large range. And now here's another pattern. So if we look back, these minions are still alive, and Fiora didn't get a ward. She didn't destroy a ward at level 1, which means that she's gonna get level 2 at the first melee minion of the second wave after these 3 die. So having that in mind, it's gonna be level 1 Malphite against level 1 Fiora. And what Malphite wants to be doing is he wants to get the XP of these minions. And by to do that, all he has to do is walk up with this wave, right? And then you stick with the wave, so that Fiora cannot trade level 1 versus level 1 with all of this hitting Fiora. If Malphite just stays around here, then Fiora cannot really trade because everything is gonna aggro. And then it should be fine. But Malphite just goes back. And now he's just gonna lose the XP. Because there's not much he can do, right? Because if he walks down, if he walks up, then it becomes the same thing, where he loses HP. But okay. Lane continues. And here's another interesting thing, which is... So, the way you can draw aggro of minions during the lane, or like just in the game in general, is either you auto attack champions or you throw single targeted abilities on champions. And Malphite Q is a targeted ability, so it draws aggro, but AoE abilities don't draw aggro, but this is not the case, right? So what Malphite wants to be doing here, he wants to walk up with the wave, he wants to throw the Q on Fiora, and what this does is he's gonna be able to draw the aggro of this minion, and then he can just walk back so that this minion walks with him, and then he can auto attack the minion. Because, again, Malphite has mana flow, so he can do this, right? But what he does is he doesn't do this, and now he's forced to Q the minion to get it, which is really bad for Malphite's mana, because you just threw a Q without stacking mana flow. And this could have been avoided, because this is just one auto attack that you could have done. Right? This is another bad behavior. And now just like one last thing about this is here. You're gonna level the E, and then you're gonna E without much necessity, but okay. Here, this minion is once again not recognizing that you can get the XP around here. You can just stay here, and then you walk back after the minion dies. They're going to just like not knowing the limits of the XP range. Go again. The minion's getting hit, you can just walk up. Instead of walking down here like you did, you just walk up a little bit, and then you should get the XP. The way he does, he's gonna miss. It's just like really bad behavior. And now what happens is Fiora is gonna have this huge crash, and she's... And this is the end result of all of this. Oh, but it's gonna get the wave now. Okay, and the end result is just like Fiora is half a level up, and she's a little bit up on CS. She messed up on the fourth wave. She messed up like 2 last hits. She should have 21, but this is... What matters is that Malphite is now down like half a level. So the main takeaways from all of this is that, one, if you don't have sustained damage, then you need to go with the wave so that you can contest and not be zoned out completely. The second pattern is on Malphite, you want to be tanking the first hit for the jungler, and then you just auto attack standing still so that you don't tank more. The third thing is, as soon as you have Q, mana flow, and comet, you should be using it so that you can stack quicker on the enemies. The fourth thing is you need to know the limit of the EXP range of minions. It's 1600. You can test it on practice so that you get used to it. I have a video on Twitter that highlights the range. which is pretty big. The fifth thing is if you're put in a position like this, you have to walk with the minions so that you can get in a favorable position, just so that you can be on the area, so that you can get the XP and stuff. And you need to fight with the minions in case he trades back with you. Like the minions, the earlier it is in the game, the more damage the minions are gonna deal. So in this case of like level 1 versus level 1, Malphite should have just stayed with the wave so that he could get the EXP. And the sixth thing is just like Malphite can throw the Q on Fiora to draw the aggro so that the minions walk up to you and it becomes easier for you to farm. This is just like the last pattern. So there's like these 6 patterns that you have that you can improve on in this game. And just like one last thing, which is just I think personally that Comet is not that good against Fiora, and I think Grasp is just like this setup with Grasp is much better both in this game and against Fiora in the matchup, because it makes trading with her a lot better. It means you can contest the wave, it means you have more sustained damage, so that everything that happened there level 1 wouldn't happen here if you have Grasp, because your Grasp is gonna match hers. And if you're going Grasp build, instead of going Q into E into W max, you're gonna go E into W into Q in this matchup. So you start with E here, and this is Fiora's attack speed, so it makes a lot better for you to trade with her, right? So you wouldn't drop as much HP, you probably would be relatively this even with her. But then you would have the benefit of walking up and having the minions attack with you. And given that it's probably better in this matchup, it also scales a lot better because of conditioning overgrowth, right? And then attack speed, armor, health is because health is really good on Malphite because it gives the highest effective HP by far. And armor just because defensive stats in general are better on Malphite than offensive stats. And attack speed because if you have Grasp, then you're gonna be fighting for sustained damage. So this is just like another recommendation. If you're gonna go against Fiora, you should probably be running this setup of rooms. And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Hope it helps.